A lot of people were upset that Blue Protocol never released globally. Blue Protocol was my most anticipated MMO because I'm a huge anime game fan. The fact that it never released was an absolute travesty. But when it shut down, China announced that they were going to be releasing a version that was
China MMO, baby. Yo, guys, this is gonna be good. Actually, I don't know, because it's gonna be from what I can tell, it's a mobile game too. It's like a crossover mobile PC game, so it might not actually be that good.
Was even better than the Japanese Blue Protocol, called Blue Protocol Star Residence. As of what is this? March 2nd, so a couple days ago, the official Blue Protocol Bilibili page released information, numerous different pages of information actually, along with the statement that it has been 2 months since the Star Test, which was a very localized test phase that very few people got to play, ended, and we waved goodbye. Many adventurers are curious, what have we been busy with in the past 2 months? What new progress has been made to the game? It's time to bring out the first issue of Star Residence information column. Take a look at the latest developments together. So here we're gonna get to see how the game is progressing, maybe learn about the next test phase, see where improvements are being made, or if improvements are sufficient. All of these are in Chinese, but Google Translate has this little feature here that allows for you to translate images, which is what I did. We're gonna look at them piece by piece.
Technology,
the first one
baby.
Translated, the developer team newsletter. Many problems were exposed during the Star Test. After the test, the main focus was on sorting out the problems and formulating and implementing optimization and adjustment plans. All work is in progress. Before the Spring Festival, Star Residence obtained a valuable version number, which also initiated a series of related preparations to prepare for the next stage of testing. Next, we will directly enter the sharing session of the So they obtained their version number. So they're publishing their licensing number, which means that the game has to release before March 2026. We have a release.
I thought it was gonna say March 2025. I'm like, wait a second, that's this month. Guys, we're getting Blue Protocol sooner than we thought. But yeah, we got an entire year, at least, or around an entire year to wait for this. But again, I'm not super confident that we're gonna get one. All right, it's gonna be good.
Release date, an actual semi-confirmation of a release date before March 2026.
People are making games with AI.
Actually very good.
People are probably already
very
doing that.
News.
Let's be real.
After the last round of testing, the feedback on the UI and interaction was very concentrated. After many discussions and coordination, the project team currently plans to configure 2 different UIs on PC and mobile terminal.
That's good.
Oh, we're gonna have unique UIs depending on the platform. So we're gonna have a PC UI and a mobile UI, which is great. Mobile UIs for any games suck. They just suck when played on PC. So,
I mean, I'm trying to think. Are there any MMOs that have been developed for mobile? I mean, I guess if you think about it, mobile MMOs are pretty recent. And as a result, every single MMO that's been developed that's like crossplay between mobile and PC just aren't good because MMOs as of late haven't been good. But like, other than like RuneScape, which was like, you know, it's not like a mobile MMO, right? It's just that it's an MMO that you can play on mobile rather than being a mobile MMO. I think there's a big distinction to draw there. I can't think of any MMO that's been on mobile and been on mobile in general, but 2, mobile and PC that have been actually anything good. Honkai Star Rail, it's not an MMO though. I wouldn't call that an MMO. That's a gacha game. Mobile MMOs are the worst. Like, the thing is, I also know that RuneScape Mobile, like you said, right? I don't think people really like play RuneScape Mobile to play RuneScape. It's kind of like they have things that they can do on the mobile version that, like, it's like, oh, I'm away from home, so I'll just like do these things, but nobody actually plays RuneScape on their mobile version. Like, or at least not many people, not anybody who's playing it seriously. Anybody who's playing seriously is just playing on PC. And if they're like out, like you said, like do some life skilling on mobile or whatever it might be, but any actual serious play is not being done on mobile. It makes me even less confident that this is going to be good. first off, it's based on a game that died, but I mean, from what I hear, Blue Protocol only really died because of how they handled it and how like there were big problems in the game that they just never addressed. Oh, well, wow, what a surprise, right? How did Lineage 2 Mobile do? I mean, have we heard anything about the game? No, so probably not very good. I just don't. I don't know. I don't think mobile MMOs are anywhere good. Even if they're PC, like even if they have a PC counterpart, I don't think that mobile MMOs are doing good at all.
It's good to see that they're overhauling that and implementing a PC exclusive UI. The PC UI will be more in line with the style that everyone is familiar with, while the mobile UI will be optimized and adjusted on the existing base.
Diablo Immortal. I mean, Diablo Immortal isn't an MMO for one, but also I don't think people really like it. Diablo Immortal. I think Diablo Immortal I think as a game was alright, but then the monetization was really bad.
Basis. So the PC UI is actually taking precedence, and the mobile UI is going to be an afterthought. The parallel use of two assets of UI will bring more challenges to future updates and maintenance. At present, the project team is trying various optimizations to bring a better experience.
Tables are mobile.
The changes in the actual
really.
machine experience brought about by such changes are also needed to be verified through everyone's feedback in future tests. So we do have a confirmation, though. There are going to be additional test phases moving into the future, which is great news. The plot presentation. So that was actually, I know people had an issue with the story. So in the last test, everyone's satisfaction with the plot was low. Yeah, there was dissatisfaction with the story. In response to this issue, the adventurers participated in the test gave many suggestions for adjustments. Some adventurers also helped to sort out the rhythm of the story, discussed how to make adjustments, and gave corresponding constructive opinions, which is great. That's the purpose of a test phase after all. On this basis, the planning team focused on adjusting the narrative style and plot rhythm, simplifying the amount of information, increasing the plot foreshadowing, and making the story simple and smooth. At the same time, the character image was adjusted by optimizing the lines and the way the plot was presented. So, okay. One issue with both gacha games and MMOs that I think a lot of games have when it comes to narrative and presentation is that they're a convoluted mess. What they need to be is heavily condensed down into something that is easily digestible. I don't know if you guys watch my weekly gacha recap series, but I always started off by saying that I'm presenting the video in an easy to digest format. And that is because nobody wants to sit down and read through 30 minutes of text when you can accomplish the same thing by providing a condensed version of said text in a 5-minute, much more easy to read and to digest format. Before we go any further, I do want to take a moment here to thank all of my incredible patrons over on Patreon and my YouTube channel members who allow for me to continue to do dedicated videos like this every single day. Damn. You guys are absolutely phenomenal, and I genuinely cannot thank you all enough for the support. The adjustments to the plot experience are difficult to describe in a few words, so I won't go into detail here. When the next test starts, adventurers will be able to experience it for themselves. New content production. The production of new content is also in progress. The previously mentioned life occupation has now completed the first stage of development.
I guess?
Life occupation. In Ragnus, adventurers could study different life occupations according to their so like life skills.
Yes, exactly.
Like fishing, mining, harvesting, crafting. Of course, as the study of occupations becomes more sophisticated, the adventurers will gain more. The production of new scenes and new maps is also progressing steadily. When we meet next time, the adventurers' exploration range will be further expanded, and different scenery will bring different exploration experiences. Fantastic. They're already working on introducing new regions into the game. Finally, the home system that everyone is concerned about is also under development. A home system, so like a housing system? Wait, Blue Protocol didn't have a housing system, but this is going to. The system is currently less complete and cannot be put into testing for the time being. When there is a phase progress in the future, we'll share it with you through official content. They're going to be working on a housing system, a functional housing system for Blue Protocol. That is impressive. Admittedly, it's something I did not expect to see. Questions?
I mean, I'll be honest, and maybe it's just me as like a fucking boomer MMO player and like a very one-dimensional MMO player, but like, I don't know, when I think about like, oh, they're adding all this stuff, they're adding life skilling, they're adding like housing, right? I would hope that they at least think about like how good the base game itself is and then start adding this stuff. Cause like I'm worried that, again, being in a mobile MMO, it just doesn't sound like the gameplay is gonna be very good. Yeah. Players love their housing systems. Housing system, I legit stopped listening. I mean, yeah, I mean, you and I are the same type of person, I guess, but like, I know there's a lot of people that do like it, and like that's like one of like the biggest like things for like Lost Ark, where people are like, give me more stuff to do outside of like normal stuff. But I mean, there is housing and fucking like life skill in Lost Ark, but no, no, it's not a main thing. So like, I don't know. It just seems like a little bit of like, nice stuff on the side rather than something for anybody to really get excited about. Like it seems like six is pretty excited. Oh wow, I didn't have a life system, a house system, right? I'm just like, I don't know. The fact that they're talking about this like this early in the game's development is kind of worrying. Like rather than like trying to really focus on the gameplay itself, they're already thinking about like these other systems that like housing and life skilling. And with housing probably means some sort of microtransactions to add like furniture into your house, more ways for them to make money. Hey, Warframe players are demanding housing for years. Yeah, but the thing is like Warframe, it's like, they built a really good game on top of it, then you give like other things, right? But this really feels like they're putting the cart before the horse type of situation, but maybe that's just me. Especially for like, I don't know. It's gonna be like a mobile MMO. I'm just afraid the other systems are gonna be too shallow because they're focusing on these other things.
An answer. Will you be in a hurry to launch the game after getting the version number? Okay, so the version number, for those who don't know or didn't watch the previous bet where I discussed what that was, it is essentially a number that you acquire in China that allows for you to publish your game that has a 1-year deadline. So if you do not publish your game within that year, you lose your version number and you need to either apply for a new one or for an extension. So now that they have this, they are forced technically to release by March 2026. What they're asking here is if they're gonna now rush to release before their deadline expires. The product polishing of Star Residence is still in progress, and there are so many key tasks that have not been completed, including whether the tuning progress of existing problems has met expectations, whether the progress of new content reserves is smooth, whether the necessary functions for the official launch have been completed, etc. And all of this is still in progress. At least at this stage, the project team will do its best to improve the quality and efficiency of all types of work. The first goal of solving previously very concentrated problem feedback and improving the completion of the game would strive to start the next test as soon as possible. Fantastic, I can't wait to try the next test phase. Oh, no, currently our main focus is on version development. The production of many promotional materials is highly related to the development environment, so there's a certain delay. When the version is more fully prepared, everyone will definitely receive information through various official accounts. The project team will also start from this month to increase the frequency of synchronizing information. Oh, so starting from March 2025, they're going to be releasing more frequent information about the game and its progress. That is fantastic to hear. So what this means is that moving forward each month, I am going to have more streams like this where we go over the information that the Blue Protocol devs provide us. Fantastic. I'm glad to see that. I'm glad to hear that. It's also interesting though, and what do you guys think about this? They have chosen to not advertise the game until the game is complete enough, rather than releasing a pre-rendered trailer and then getting you excited for a game and then it turning out completely differently once it releases. What are your thoughts? Would you rather them release a pre-rendered trailer, a cinematic trailer, and then go a year without anything, 2 years without anything other than that pre-rendered cinematic trailer? Or would you rather they wait until they're largely finished the game and then release something, and that something that you see be what is going to essentially be the game? Because
I don't know. Before he goes into that, for me, I personally don't really care too much, especially if it's a cinematic trailer, right? Because the thing is, I feel like in terms of Blue Protocol Resonance, this new one, not many people know about it, in my opinion. I think some people know about it, people who are like really into like MMOs and like really, really into like anime MMOs specifically, or have followed Blue Protocol. Maybe not even the majority of people know it. But like I do think there is merit for getting people excited and hyped for the game beforehand. like you might see it as like oh, this is just marketing to try to get more people to click and play the game and be excited for it. But I think that especially for an MMO, you want people to be excited for an MMO. That way on day one when it releases, you can have as many people playing as possible. And having more people playing an MMO is a really good thing. Now, that's what I'm for me, it's like releasing a cinematic trailer is good. I also don't even mind like them releasing like, this is early beta, dev, alpha, whatever footage, right? I don't mind that either. As long as it gets people excited for the game itself, I think that's all that matters.
Prefer them to delay the release of a trailer and not be too concerned with hype, but then just release something that is tangible and that is more consumable, and I think more that isn't necessarily disingenuous. But that's me personally. Stupid move because trailers give the anticipation. Reminds me of what Wuwa did a little bit. Yeah, they're playing for actual in-game content for promotional stuff rather than pre-rendered stuff, which is good to see and good to hear. I think that is genuinely good news because they're taking a different approach. Games tend to release something to build hype and then fail to live up to the anticipation that has been built. Whereas what they're doing here, knowing the feedback that the original Blue Protocol received, releasing something with the knowledge that players are already kind of on the fence about it, and then, with this in mind, they're not gonna fail to live up to the anticipation because there is nothing to anticipate. Where is the Pathfinder?
I mean, for Blue Protocol, it wasn't even like we're let down because the game was bad. It's just we let down because the game never came out. And I don't think whether or not they like released any like promotional material would that make much of a difference. Which I don't even think for Blue Protocol they released much promotional material for the West anyways. All they did was like, hey guys, we're gonna be publishing Blue Protocol. That's all it was. I don't think they really released anything else for us over here. So I don't even know if that is like super applicable or not. Seeing devs for Blue Protocol now, maybe there's hope. I don't know. We'll see. I feel like for mobile games, right? People are definitely a little bit more lenient when it comes to like pay to win and things like that. And as a result, I feel like they might push that. I have a feeling they might push that. Also, it being an anime MMO and like a kind of like a originally a KMMO or JMMO, right? JMMO. I feel like they're more likely to advertise to that audience. So there might still be some really predatory stuff in there. We'll have to see. But again, it's like the fact that it's a mobile MMO or at least has a mobile port out the gate just doesn't get me very excited. Because typically you're going to have to simplify certain things to make the game run well on both mobile and PC in terms of its gameplay experience, which in general muddies the game itself and dilutes it, in my opinion. Now it's like, Wuthering Waves is really pretty dang good. People like that, but it's not an MMO, right? And it's same with like Genshin Impact. I do think that there's a reason why there haven't been any good MMOs that have been both on PC and mobile. With, again, the caveat that MMOs in general haven't been doing good. But usually, a lot of times, MMOs, at least for the first month or so, will do good. And then afterwards, they start dying out, which we haven't even had any MMOs that did well for a month that were on both mobile and PC. Everyone that Blue Protocol died in Japan rather than literally shrivel and perish in global. Yes, it's true. And I made a video about this a while back, but the reason why Blue Protocol died in Japan is because of, I think it was Bandai Namco is the one developing and publishing it, and they just never gave the game the love it needed. It had some really broken systems in the beginning, like since the beginning, and they were never fixed, but also like there are big bugs in the game that were never addressed since the beginning. So it's like, I think a large part of the reason why Blue Protocol died wasn't even because of the game being bad. It was just that the devs just didn't care about it for some reason. I don't know why. I wonder if endgame obsession fatigue is the thing for that. I mean, I think, as I mentioned earlier, like yesterday during our stream when we were talking about MMOs in general, I think the amount of grind in MMOs is something that most people don't want. I think the thing is, MMO combat in general, when it comes to grind, excluding Lost Ark, right? I think it definitely gets boring over time. Like the thing is, the reason why games like Path of Exile can continue to exist and be popular all these years is because Path of Exile is not just because of combat. It's because of like the build depth, being able to farm items and then use those to make characters stronger, but also build new characters, build new ideas, and really that creativity and diversity of character gameplay is really what carries it. Because if you're thinking about combat itself, there's no ARPG that has really good combat. There's like a lot of flashy stuff that happens on the screen. It can be really satisfying to like grind through enemies and just like shred through them, right? And you have that dopamine of constantly farming. But the thing is, I think for most people, they can't play one build in Path of Exile for weeks, months, years even, right? But which is why in MMOs it's a little bit harder, because like the monetization ties yourself to like in most MMOs, not saying every MMO, like it basically time gates you a lot, makes it so you like it's really hard to grind up a new character. And it's like, you know, typically there's only 1 or 2 builds for like your characters in MMOs, so it's, you know, you end up not really being able to like play with all these fun new different builds, and you just get bored doing that end game grind. So, and Path of Exile has a lot of ways to grind end game too, right? It's like, it's not just like, oh, you're only mapping. Like, it's like while you're mapping, you can like change the way that you play completely depending on your atlas and things like that. So I think that for an MMO, a lot of people just aren't ready for that level of mind-numbing grind that exists. And that's the reason why MMOs a lot of times end up in failure when it comes to the end game. You know, a lot of MMOs nowadays don't have a lot of options either. Most of the options are solved with pay to win. Yeah, for sure. A dev team that could maybe even have a chance of making MMOs of Monster Hunter Rise dev team, they used black magic to let it run on Nintendo Switch. Yeah, I mean, but the graphics as a result were kind of not great. But it's, I don't even know if that would work, because like the requirements and the demands on the hardware to run in MMO and a persistent online game is a lot harder than one that like has like, you know, all these like small instances. So it would be really hard. It would be really hard to make like a really, really fully fleshed out MMO for a mobile game that's actually good.
Pathfinder suit, take it out. The Pathfinder server is being prepared. Oh, okay. The test server. As a very small-scale confidential test environment, the Pathfinder server will be opened earlier than the public recruitment test, and its stability and completion will be lowered. So they're going to hold 2 different upcoming test phases: the Pathfinder test and then the public recruitment test. Many adventurers are concerned about, if I didn't get a spot in the Pathfinder server before, will I have another chance in the future? The positioning of the Pathfinder server determines that its scale will not be too large, and the number of people will be increased or limited at any time according to the needs of the test. Adventurers can also pay attention to the official information. Okay, so interesting that they're holding 2 different test phases. One is likely to be is evidently a much smaller scale test with its own individual server, where the public recruitment test is going to be a much larger scale with potentially numerous different servers. I'm okay with that. The last test of Lamo was so brilliant. Will there be more drama in the next test?
Yeah,
in
this
addition,
is real
the design
Lamo.
proofing of the Thunder Demon Silk peripherals have also started, and the future adventurers can obtain them by doing stuff. Okay, so I think that's it. Yeah, that is all the information that we have for Blue Protocol Star Residence right now. It's honestly, that is pretty damn significant. They're working on overhauling so many different aspects of the game, implementing so many different features, including player housing, which is wild. They're focused more on completing the game rather than releasing, you know, trailers for it. They received their version number, the official publishing licensing number, to publish the game, to release the game by March 2026. They're planning on holding multiple different test phases between now and the release before March 2026, which is fantastic. They're going to be releasing monthly content drops, info drops. that we're going to be able to, or that are going to keep us surprised. That way we don't fall behind and we know what they're actively working on and doing. I hopefully get into the test phase for this because I would love to try it, to provide feedback, and maybe help it towards a more successful launch. I don't know. Are you guys excited based off of what you've seen and what you've heard thus far? Because I am.
Nope.
This all sounds very promising. Now, it could just be them talking out their ass, trying to build hype. But from what I've seen and what I've read and heard, they seem kind of passionate about it. They actually seem like they want to provide a game that people will play. And honestly, that wasn't the original Blue Protocol. The original Blue Protocol was not a game that many people wanted to play. Whether this game is a success or a failure is going to depend on how the community receives the game. How the game ultimately does, how players ultimately receive it, is going to be based off of the alterations that they make, and whether players are happy and think that they're putting sufficient and adequate time and efforts into making the alterations that they want to see. Wuthering Waves has proven to be very receptive to player feedback and is crafting a game that we all want, rather than other games that present a game.
I mean, I agree with that. It seems like the Wuwa team and the people over at Kuro Games are doing a very good job. Even at the beginning when I was playing it, it seemed like they were listening to feedback, implementing that feedback, making the game better, right? So, you know, we have seen these Chinese developers come and make these games, you know, even these mobile games, right, really good, and continue to try to push out quality as opposed to just be predatory. But I just can't help but think that it's hard to make an MMO on a like that runs on both mobile and PC to have that level of depth that people are looking for in MMO. Because in reality, that's a lot of times what people want in MMO, right? You want to have that depth for you to get lost in it. Depth doesn't necessarily mean like complicated, like how complicated it is, but it's like, you know, be the ability to dive in, like give players the ability to dive in, look at something, and basically do 4, 5, 6 things with that one thing. Pro game's a massive W, yeah.
And make changes that they want. So most games, there are two different styles of development that studios seem to adhere to. There's one where studios seem to think that they know better, that they know what players want, and they will make balance changes, implement features, add or remove things entirely from the game that they think would make the game better, that they think players want in or remove from their game. And then there are studios like Kuro Games, who are the ones that do Wuthering Waves, that ask for player feedback, gauge what players want, and then they make alterations, balancing changes, and introduce or remove what players genuinely want, rather than what studios perceive players want. One of those studios is seeing significant success. Many other studios with many other MMOs, video games, gacha games, all are seeing absolute failure. There's a reason certain Eastern games have been so successful over the course of the last couple years, because they know what players want. Western games seem to have forgotten this. Kudo know what players want because they ask players. They're transparent with players. A lot of studios aren't that. So then we get the mess that we have when it comes to various different subgenres of gaming. Hey, where do you think you're going? I see what you're doing there. I see you navigating on over, scrolling on over to that X button. Don't you dare. What I need you to do is take a moment and click one of the videos that are about to appear as soon as I'm done talking. And trust me.
What's this accent that he has? What's that accent that he has? All right. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, right? I think that one of the things with mobile games is that mobile games in general are not hard games. I wouldn't even say WoWa is hard. Like, there's elements in there that are difficult, right? Like the holograms or whatever. People like, you know, do that and try to clear those at certain times and whatever. But in general, I wouldn't say mobile games, and especially gacha games, are very hard. And they're not very deep either. So as a result, that might be one of the reasons why MMOs on mobile don't ever see any sort of big success. Because again, I think that an MMO needs to have depth for people to actually like, bite their teeth into and really just dive in and get lost in. But it's really hard for people to do that in a mobile MMO because I just think that most 90% of people in the world are dumb. They really are. They're just fucking idiots. And when you're making a mobile game, you are trying to reach that 90% audience. And as a result, it either A is too complicated and it flops on mobile, or B, it does well, but it's like literally the depth of like a wading pool. So you just never, it's like really hard to make a good MMO because of that. 90 is generous. Dumb person here to represent. So it's like because of that, it ends up being really difficult for them to make an actual good mobile MMO. And that's why I'm just not very confident in their ability to actually make an MMO like this that's like cross play between mobile and PC to be good. Because the reason why they're making the MMO on mobile is because they wanted to reach a wide audience. So in order to do that, they need to cut back on depth and they need to cut back on complexity. They need to cut back on, just like how hard the game is, right? And just make it super, super easy. And as a result, I'm just a little bit worried about whether or not this is going to be a good MMO. Elon's considered smart and dies on legit PoE2 hardcore hill, then the real number is probably close to 99%. I think MMO is going to be a game with MMO features. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it sounds like people have gotten their hands on like the early versions of the game, and nobody said it's not an MMO. So I don't know. We'll have to see how that goes.